The morning of the 23rd of July, Saturday. This is when we began our hike at Coleman, Alberta. Glen Mason, the guy on the left, is from Eastern Canada. I met him on Facebook on a hiking page. Scott Davidge, the guy in the center, is from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Met him on a Facebook hiking page. We met online on Zoom and decided to team up to make this hike. Day one of the hike, headed to Window Mountain Lake to camp for the night. About 17-kilometer hike. Had a lot of elevation gain and a lot of elevation loss. But being the first day, had quite a bit of energy and did pretty well. Glen being 56 and Scott was 41. I'm 71. I kept up with them pretty well on that first day. Our first water source for refilling water. We've gone 10 kilometers. We have 7 more to go till our campsite. It's been uphill quite a bit, but the worst uphill is yet to go. We have, after this water source, about 1 kilometer height to climb. Alright, we're taking a break here, and the mountain there, that's the Seven Sisters or Seven Peaks, points or whatever they are, and that's Crow's Nest Mountain. And this guy's sitting down, that's all he does, sit down. That's Glen.
Drink.
That's Scott. Now he's got some crazy accent. I think he's from Australia. And see some gray clouds coming.
I see that.
Earlier, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Well, one tiny one. So that's where we're at, and we're about how far from the lake?
Ooh, what did we say? 3? No.
4 kilometers or something?
Something like that.
Maybe 4 kilometers or something from our campsite for the night. And right now it is 2:15. That's Window Mountain right there.
Can you see it from the lake?
And that's the window.
I don't think you can see it from everywhere.
Online it says you could fly a 747 jet through that opening.
It's a good place to see it from, I think.
Okay, here we've seen this a couple times. It's a blue-purple pine cones.
They don't taste like blueberries.
Scott says they're not blueberry flavored, but not seen them before. These blue pine cones were really pretty. They look like blueberry color. And we also saw red ones, which I didn't get any pictures of, that looked like big raspberries. Now we're about 2 kilometers from Window Mountain Lake Campground.
if
This is Window
windy situation.
Mountain Lake over there. That's Scott, that's Glenn. Their tents. Scott's up there. 17.2 kilometers to get here. It took us 9 hours and 41 minutes is what Scott says it took to get here. It's a lot of climbing, but not as bad as tomorrow's going to be. So we'll see what tomorrow has to offer. This is Window Mountain Lake. There's only one other camp. There's a guy and his wife, I guess, and a little girl. They're camping here, and that's it. This is day 2. This is 6:20 a.m. Lake here's dead calm, and went to bed about 8 o'clock or a little after 8. 9:30, some guy's waking us up, and I don't know, 100 yards away there was a guy and his wife and 2 little kids. They were camping. Anyway, this guy said that a grizzly bear had killed a moose cub over there near their camp. And so those people, they just left everything, tents, everything, and they just took off, went back down, got out of here and went back down the mountain. It's about a mile down to I guess where their car was parked. And this guy here that was telling us, he was a lone hiker. He said he's packing up and going further away from camp. So Glenn and I talked about it. Scott was sleeping. His tent was a little further away. So I stayed up until about 11:30 and kept the fire burning really good. And then prayed about it and said all's okay. So I went to sleep, slept like a rock. And Scott and I went over to the bear locker, which is in that area where the bear is supposed to have killed that moose. Got our food out of the bear locker, and so we're packing up to ready to get out of here, and hopefully in the next 45 minutes. And figure that word will get to the rangers today about this kill. I'll bet you they locked down this camping area and prevent people from coming in for a while until they can ensure that bear is gone. So this is Window Mountain Lake. So after Scott and I got the food bags out of the bear lockers, Glenn went to the pit toilet. He said right before he got to the toilet, he heard a slow, low, deep growl and looked up, and a grizzly bear was there at the kill. And he said the grizzly bear short-charged him twice. So Glenn came back to the camp, told us. We quickly packed up and then left. Later on, we met up with the lone hiker. His name's also Scott, and he told us the incident from his eyewitness account.
Up at Window Mountain Lake, got bear chased down a moose and her calf, killed the calf, and was hanging out there eating it and caused a bit of a problem for everybody camping. Don't know what became of it, but hopefully it all turned out all right.
Did you see the moose?
I did see the moose, pretty close up.
Did you see the bear?
Yeah, from far enough away. Wouldn't want to have gotten too close. But everybody lived, so
Grizzly bear?
Probably.
So we pack up, and as you can see, Window Mountain Lake down below us. We start heading up and going to our next campsite, which is about another 15 kilometers away. I had a good breakfast this morning, and at this point then, things started to go just a little bit downhill for me. I didn't know why until after I got back from this hike what was going on. And of course, found some really pretty wildflowers. Lots of pretty flowers in the mountains this time of year. Okay, it's 9:15. We left about 7:30, but we came down right there. Come down, come down, come down. Came down to the bottom of those rocks, through the trees, and up this road. And we're going up there and over the mountain, around the side of it. So we begin day 2 with a lot of uphill climbing, and we're headed for Racehorse Creek campsite for the night. All right, it is 11:15. We've been gone 4 hours. This is Racehorse Mountain. This is 7,300 feet something, and its highest point that we're going to experience. Waterfall way over there. Here's Scott in his flaming chartreuse shorts. He says they're really sexy. And let's wiggle that butt. There he goes. He says he's from England.
It's the way they dress.
He said this is how they dress going to the Parliament. And we got to go down in this valley. How far?
Oh, what do we say?
2 kilometers or something.
2.7 to water.
2.7 kilometers down to the water source.
The DDT sign right there.
And it's been a tough climb. I am worn out.
Down that way.
All right, this is, we left Racehorse Mountain. I don't know what that was. That's a couple kilometers or 2.5 or whatever climbing. That was a tough climb. Now we're going down the other side. This is 2.3 or something kilometers all downhill through a forest. This is pretty. And our water source is down at the bottom. Got about a half a liter of water left. But it's pretty. It's a hard workout, I'll give you that. I'm 71, Glenn's 56, Scott's 41. We all stay together most of the time. Glenn's behind me. He had to readjust his pack. Scott's in front of me somewhere. So that's it. It's a really good climb, I'll tell you. 2 kilometers something up, 2 kilometers down. Going down, I can make really good time. Just have to balance the weight on the pack. You don't have to carry it, you just balance it. Coming up wears me out. The place where we just came from, supposed to be water, but it was dry. So
everybody, the three of us, divvied. I was out. I was totally out. I carry 2 liters. Scott carries 3, I think, and with a bladder, and I think same with Glenn. So Glenn gave me half a liter of water, and I told him just go ahead, head on. Got to go 2 meters up on this elevation climb, 2 down, and the water's with a bridge, so it's not seasonal, it's year-round. So I said, just meet me down there. So I've been practicing my breathing from what I've seen on the virtual reality, on some meditation thing I've been practicing, and trying to hold my breathing down. That way, get my heart rate down and not sweat so much and lose water. So it's a really pretty day. That's the plus, and it's not raining. That's a big plus. So that's where I'm at. We made it to the water source. It's a nice little stream coming off of the melting snow up there. So we have about 4 kilometers, and 2 of that's a good climb. 2 of the 4. So 2 up, 2 down, and then another water, seasonal though, water source. And then another about 3 kilometers till we camp. So we got about 7 or something kilometers to go. Worn out. So you can see all the trees there, that saddle right about there. So we got to go up and over that. Nice bridge. Somebody painted a rock here. It's Isaiah 43:2. We got about 4 kilometers yet to the camp site, and I'm not sure, not much more going uphill, but half a kilometer or something maybe, and then everything else downhill. But that valley down there, we came from that about 2 hours ago. This has been a pretty stinking good climb. So but it's sure pretty. It is pretty country, that's for sure. Headed downhill now. That's an amazing view, isn't it? It's around 5 o'clock or a little after, I think. So now, about 3 kilometers to go. Wow, 7 o'clock. We got to camp. It was a long, hard day. Really long and really hard. Lots of climbing. And then going down the other side was really steep going down, so my left knee is hurting a little bit. So that's where we're at. This is the morning of day 3. Mosquitoes are out. And this is where we camped last night. This is Racehorse Creek camp area. That's a nice little creek. My tent's the orange one. That one's Glenn. That one's Scott. And that one over there, another guy joined us. His name's Scott. He's from Calgary. So, supposed to be 30% chance of rain. That's the sky. And we go left behind Glenn's tent. We go up the hill. We got 17 kilometers today. It's 11 miles. And it's about 630 or something like that meters of elevation climb today. So not as much as yesterday, but still a really good amount. That's about 1,900 feet of elevation gain. So we're going to get ready to get packed up.
When I got to Racehorse Creek campsite, Glenn and Scott have been there for 15 or 20 minutes already. For dinner, I had some good freeze-dried food, but I wasn't hungry. Just didn't have any appetite at all. And the next morning, for breakfast, I crammed down a food bar, a granola bar, and didn't even want that. Just had no appetite whatsoever.
Well, we made it to our first water source. It's like 7 kilometers, and it's 10 minutes to 11. We started about 7:30, had some pretty good climbing. So we're going to take a little break here and get water and get a little something to eat. This is all coming from melted snow. Still a lot of snow on the side of the mountain up there. Can't see it, it's foggy today.
Here we are taking a little break. The weather was overcast, but not raining. That was great. The scenery was gorgeous and the company was fantastic. And we saw these white flowers, and there were thousands and thousands of them. Don't know what they were, but they were white like a daisy on a stem that was thin like a spaghetti noodle. There are just thousands of them for a long ways on our hike. This is what we saw.
Yeah, this is the start of our climb.
These are these white field flowers. We've been hiking with them for a while. There's a ton of them.
Well, I'm going to take my pack off then.
This is our watering stop. We got 4K yet to go to the campsite tonight. We've had a lot of couple setbacks. Got on the wrong trail, it wasn't marked, and so that was another kilometer we went. And then the trail wasn't very well marked coming down this water source, and it's real narrow. So we had to just kind of take our time. So we thought we'd already be at camp today, but we're not. 6 o'clock p.m. on the third day. Been hiking since 7:30. The guys went ahead of me. They're faster than I am. And I don't know what all this rock rubble is, but it's a lot of rock. It's pretty and it's amazing. And I'm about to the point of saying that I'm just an old guy and I'm not cut out for this anymore. So I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow.
I got to camp at Dutch Creek campsite. I got to camp about 90 minutes after Scott and Glenn got there. Set up my tent, and Glenn noticed I wasn't eating. He said, "You going to eat?" And I said, "I'm not hungry. I've hiked, 11 hours today, but I wasn't hungry." He said, "You have to eat something." So he gave me a jerky stick and a part of a candy bar, and I forced it down, but I had no appetite. So I didn't know what was going on at the time, but that bleeding ulcer is the cause of all of this.
This is day 4, and that's what we wake up to. That's Scott over there. He's chilling with some hot coffee. I thought he'd have a fire for us going this morning, but no, how can you expect that? I'm gobsmacked, there's no fire. But this is where we camped last night. So today's supposed to be the, Glenn calls it the epic climb of the whole trip. Epic is not a word I want to hear. But see how it goes. So this is day 4. All right, we're up here taking a break. How far did we come, Scott?
3.14.
3.14 kilometers.
Total elevation, 823 meters.
Of climb today?
Yeah.
823 meters climb. This motley guy right here is Glenn. He's like the mountain goat. And we came from that little green spot down there. That little green spot, that's where we camped last night. It's been a good climb. See some sort of a rain-looking cloud right up there. So, we're going to take a break here for the next, about, I think Glenn said 4 more hours. And then Scott brought a watermelon in his backpack. So we're going to have watermelon in a little bit with salt on it. Scott's never heard of that. Glenn's never heard of that. It's the only way to eat watermelon.
Oh yeah, spring onion.
Yeah, I mean that would just get bigger and bigger until the end of August or something.
What you got there, Glenn? What are you looking at?
I'm looking at some flowering wild onions.
Yum.
Wild onion.
Yeah, we're just thinking about mushrooms and onions and eggs and bacon.
Ooh, that would be so good
And
right now.
have you tasted those wild onions?
And you've tasted them after I've breathed on you too, haven't you?
Yeah. Holy cow, his breath is awful. So
That's what she said.
Yeah. Wife can attest to that.
that's Tornado.
That's Grassy Ridge.
That's Grassy Ridge.
Yeah.
And that,
Don't know yet. I haven't looked.
that's don't know yet. Been climbing a lot. We come from that valley down there. And taking a break. We got a big climb ahead of us. It's a heck of a lot of elevation gain in a short period of time. Lots of climbing. And it's tough. But this is what I'm looking at.
This is Tornado Pass. I got to where the red arrow is, and the summit there is with the black arrow. Scott Davidge got up over top, and then Glenn followed him, and then Scott Falconer passed me up and got up about halfway. When I got to where the red arrow was, I was out of energy. I had nothing else to give, and I sat down. And it was an emotional disaster for me. It was such a big disappointment. I could not go any farther. Again, at that point, I didn't know that I had a bleeding ulcer, but it was a total disappointment. And before I knew it, Scott Falconer was down beside me. He had come down the mountain, asked if I was okay. I said, I can't go anymore. I am out of energy. And so he sat down and he said, take your pack off and go down where it's a little more flat, and I'll bring your pack to you. I said, I'm okay, I can get down. So we went down the mountain a ways to a flat area, and we sat there for a while. And I had prayed about it before Scott showed up. What should I do? And I was told to go back. So Scott Falconer, he's 36, he lives in Calgary. He and I then went back down the mountain and went back to Dutch Creek campsite where we were the night before. Before we left the mountain there, the Tornado Pass, Scott Davidge came up on top of the rise, the saddle, and too far away to yell, but he was waving his arms at us, and we were using our trekking poles, waving and pointing back down towards Coleman. And then he waved okay, and then he disappeared, and him and Glenn went on to finish the hike.
Okay, this is Scott Falconer, F-A-L, how do you spell your name? F-A-L-C-O-N?
Yep.
E-R. So I was attempting the, I don't know what it is anymore, Tornado saddle or something. My legs just gave out. I could not. I got up at, I don't know what, a quarter of the way or something. And it just kept getting steeper and steeper, and just had a meltdown. Scott was up ahead of me. So he came back and got me. And we're back here at the camp where we were, where we left from this morning. And I'm going back. Are you going all the way back, Scott, or are you going to peel off?
I'm not too sure yet.
All right. But I want to head back to Coleman. So it took, what did it take, 3 days to get here? This is the 4th day, isn't it?
Sounds right.
Today, what is today, Tuesday?
I want to say Monday, but I might be
All right. I'm thinking this is our 4th day. So it took 3 days to get here. So I should be back in 3 days in Coleman, I guess. But my legs just gave out. So we're back here. It's 3 o'clock p.m.
So we made it back to Dutch Creek campsite, set up our tents, and went to sleep and tried to get a good night's rest. And then got up the next morning and decided we both would go back to Coleman. Scott saying, he said, my heart's not really into this hike anyway, and he can hike someplace else later.
This is day 5. Scott Falconer and I are headed back towards Coleman. So it's a pretty morning. It's a pretty morning, just really tired. So there's several good climbs on the way back. But we're talking also maybe taking a side road, logging road to get down to the highway. Thought that might be quicker, we're not sure yet. But this is the 5th morning. That's all. All right, Scott and I going down this old logging road, and here's a stream to cross. Sure clear water. We're taking a break before we cross the stream. Water is crystal clear like air. Cold like you got a bunch of ice cubes in it. Really, really good to drink. I love it. So Scott, his last name is Falconer. Falconer. He says, well, didn't really have his heart in this hike anyway, so it doesn't matter about going back instead of going forward. Says he does a lot of hiking up in Jasper area. But read a story where somebody's talking about angels, and said, yeah, there's angels, and some of them are alive, walking around. I think Scott's one of those guys.
Well, Scott and I left Dutch Creek campsite and headed towards Coleman, following the trail. We went 7 or 8 kilometers, and then looking on a map, we crossed country just a little bit and ran into an old logging road that would go a ways and then become a better dirt road. And we went on that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 kilometers and ended up hitching a ride in the afternoon on a guy four-wheeler. And he took us into the place where we started our hike, Atlas Staging Area. We stayed there a couple hours and got a pickup truck, gave us a ride into Coleman, which was 5 or 6 kilometers, and I got my pickup truck. And then we drove to Blairmore, which is just 3 or 4 miles from Coleman. It's a bigger town. And I told Scott, I said, I don't want to go back to Karsten today. So we checked in at a campsite and then went across the road and got dinner. And Scott got a big old nacho plate, and I got mango chicken, which I had about 1 or 2 bites. I said, I'm not hungry. I have no appetite. I'm full. And we camped out there at the campsite in our tents. And then the next morning, I drove Scott up to Calgary. and dropped him off at a station where he could catch a C train, and he headed back to his brother's house. So I drove back to Cardston, and I was so tired, I had no energy. About an hour or two out of Calgary, I stopped along the highway at a turnout and laid in the back of the truck for an hour and slept, and then drove some more and had to stop again and slept some more, and finally got back here to the house and did some research and found out I had a bleeding peptic ulcer, and that was a cause of not having any energy. But on the side of the mountain there on Tornado Pass, it was such a big disappointment. I don't know if I'll ever have an opportunity to take on such a hike again. I sure hope I have another chance to do it. But I had some prayers answered. One was which way to go, and it said to go back, and I felt comfortable about that. The other one was about rain. Supposed to have 4 out of 10 days on the hike was rain, and prayed quite often about no rain, and it never did rain on us. And the grizzly bear in camp, I prayed and asked, what should we do? And it's a calm feeling. Stay here, you're okay. So, and then I had 2 other prayers, personal prayers answered, telling me a couple things I needed to know. So, was it a wasted trip? Not on your life. It's such a beautiful place to be. And the guys that I went with are such amazing guys. They're top notch in my book. So until next summer, I hope to be able to hike again. So thank you for listening and watching this horrendously long video. And may the sun shine on your back and the winds fill your sails. That's all for now.